Now, excuse me, welcome back. You're still watching DayBreak on this 19th day of January 2026. We are at the tail end of the conversation on matters education. I just want us to take a look at another slide that gives us a look at the numbers. So we have just looked at the students that qualify to join universities. There are those that did not qualify and actually scored between grade E and D+, meaning it's at the tail end of performance. Let's take a look at the numbers. So the national schools only contributed 4.5% of their class into scoring a D+, between D+ and E. That is in absolute terms, 1,995. If you look at the extra counties, 16% of that class scored a D+ and below. In the county schools, 44%. So you can see the rate is going higher. 44% of those that go to the county schools score a D+ and below. In the sub-counties, majorly day schools, 66% of the class. In absolute terms, it's 353,000 learners that went to day schools scored a D+ and below. In private schools, it's 45%. Again, that number of sub-counties is significant because 53.4% of the entire class of 2025 attended school at day schools. So there's a 66% chance that if you join that school, you're going to score a D+ and below. Mheshimiwa Mbui, should we be concerned by these numbers? And what do you do if we are to say that the reason behind competency-based education is so that there's equal opportunity for everyone wherever they go, whether it's the school near them or the national schools that is far from them?
Yeah, thank you, Sam. First, I think when you look at how we place learners into our schools, the top-performing learners from primary school will end up in the top schools. That is national schools. Those that don't manage to get the grades for national schools will go to extra county. Those that don't get to extra county will go to county. And unfortunately, the ones that don't do very well are the ones that end up at the, those sub-county schools, which most of them are day school, and that's where the performance is an issue. I don't know how to change that because there's always got to be competition even in education. So those that do well must always be placed in the better schools. I mean, that must always exist because even in the developed world, even if you go to the US, I mean, wherever you go to school, they will always take the best performing learners to the better institutions. So this is something that will continue even up to the level of university, like in the US. There are certain universities that will be the preserve of the very excellent performers at college level. So I think it's not something we can change. But I think we can inspire the learners and improve the facilities in our sub-county and county schools. I just mentioned a school where I went to officiate over the provision of a bus last week. This school is a sub-county school. It had 93 candidates last year, and 31 of them went to the university. That's actually 33.3%. Yep. So it's possible that some of these, these schools at that level can actually do a little better.
What did they do?
I think they're just well inspired. They've got a good principle, and I think it's just a matter of. I agree with Wamudende when he said that some of these people need motivation. They just need to be talked to and encouraged. There are some schools where from time immemorial nobody has gotten even a B. Or even a C+. Nobody has ever gone to university. So there are schools where the parents take their children there. Parents don't expect anyone to go to university. Yep. The learners themselves don't expect to go to university. The teachers don't expect anyone to go to university, neither does the principal. So everybody knows that this school no one will pass. In such an institution, nothing can happen. Nothing can grow there. So it's important that maybe a little bit of reshuffling of leadership where schools are not doing well, and then a bit of encouragement from the ministry and from the leaders. It is possible that
and how are the facilities in that school?
Some of the schools have fair facilities.
No, I mean, that particular...
The one I'm talking about doesn't have the best facilities. My schools have similar facilities across board. Yet the facilities that they have, which are similar to others, they're able to do a lot better than others. I have a school that, you saw the category you just put here of D+ and E. Yeah. That almost all my learners in some of my schools will get that kind of grade. And they have infrastructure, proper infrastructure, because we are fair in the distribution of public funds in our schools. So I think it's more about motivation. It's more about the leadership in those schools. But there's a lot that needs to be done. Ministry needs to also be careful. There are some principals that stay in schools for too long. You send someone to an institution, the learners are failing year in, year out. Why does somebody need to do 3-4 years in a school where no one can go to university? You cannot have a total population of 100 learners and not a single one can get a C+. Those kind of principles should actually not even be transferred. They should be dismissed from service. And no wonder some people are really fighting the idea of you know, and are being told they must indicate their performance. Those performance contracts, they were fighting them. We need to go there. We need to provide performance contracts to our principals. Those that cannot achieve, they can be dismissed. Some will say this. It is true sometimes some schools have very low you know, entry behavior. We pick learners with very low grades. But even if they have low grades, let them maintain those low grades or improve slightly. Okay. But you cannot get a child with a low grade and then you make it even worse. No, that is what is going on.
There's a case example in Kisii County, Raganga Secondary School, that was featured on Citizen TV last week. So there's a student who scored 305 marks in KCPE in 2021, but in the KCSE of last year, they had a D, and they're actually the top student in that institution. Out of a population of 18, nobody got beyond a D plane, and there is at least one E-plane of a student. Yes, in KCP they scored 120. That has converted to an E-plane in the KCSE. Deputy Speaker, at the end of the day, we spend so much money in education. I don't know why you're smiling. We spend so much money in education. Current budget, 702 billion shillings. It may go higher if you are to do supplementary budgets. There needs to be value for money for the taxpayer. We cannot just pump in resources and get poor grades of people that beyond that, they cannot even contribute to the development of the nation as you would have expected them to, based on their potential.
No, I don't think. I think the seems that the figures there are fixated on the fact that you judge a school by how many students that they send to university.
I also looked at the quality of grades from D plus down
I know,
to E.
yes. But I'm just saying, the fact that somebody scored very high marks in primary school doesn't mean that it's a guarantee that they will get into university. I had the lowest mark in my primary school during my year. I actually didn't even qualify to go to my secondary school. But because my sister was there, the nuns agreed that I can join the school. So I joined the school. I was at the bottom of my class in the first year, the second year, the third year. But I struggled through. Eventually, I came out as a straight A student. But I was at the bottom of my class. So we must also teach our children that they should not feel condemned by the fact that they had very low marks. I will give you, recently, I attended the graduation of a friend, and she finished secondary, she didn't make it to university, she went and did a certificate course, then did a diploma. From a diploma, she went to do a degree. She was graduating with her PhD the other day. So we must also tell that the fact that we must encourage our learners. The fact that you didn't do well and make it to university the first time doesn't mean you won't get there. My own uncle, Professor Kibos, same thing. He dropped out of school in Form 2, went to be a P1 teacher, went on to do a diploma, etc. Now he's a full professor. So it is possible to invent yourself. And that's why I mean, what the government has done is very, very encouraging by making sure that they promote TVETs and vocational training colleges, polytechnics, etc., so that these children who haven't made it to university can find another pathway of where they can go. And that's why CBC is something we should continue supporting, even if it has teething problems. The good thing is we can readjust, we can continue working. If we realize that certain schools don't have facilities, that is why we have the National Government Constituency Development Fund, so that you can start working, as Honorable Muthende says, that he's putting money in certain schools in his county, the ones that don't have enough capitation. Because national schools get a lot of money, whereas the sub-county schools don't get any money. So yes, it is for us to take up that challenge as members of parliament and to try and promote those schools. We must also, as you do the motivational talks, we speak to students and tell them, you don't have to make it to university straight up. In fact, Today, if you asked me, a lot of the students who have studied plumbing courses, to be electricals and so on, become self-employed. Those are they are guaranteed to be self-employed and to have a job immediately. Whereas if you go and study at the university, sometimes being able to get employment is even difficult. So we must change the conversation, because I know during my time, everybody was like, you must make it to university. But today, that is not the case.
So when you say national schools get more resources, what exactly do you mean?
No, when they give the capitation that they get, I think the national schools get some additional resources during, I mean...
No, it's actually the same.
Even their numbers. And their numbers, so yes. Because, for example, you find, I know that St. George's School here, I recently visited, and they told me they have 2,500 students, which means they're getting more money. Yeah. The school that you're talking about in Kadiani has 100 students. They're not going to get much. So they're not going to get enough investment. And that's why I agree with the idea that members of parliament to their CDF should be focusing on the schools that have lower populations, because they're the ones who do not get enough money.
Okay.
We must, the challenge that we are having is that also when you look at day schools, they also have unique problems, especially in day schools around shopping centers, around towns and so on, or even in some poor areas. What does happen is you go there and you're told these children don't come to school today because they're in day school. They go to school one day, the next day they are sent by the parents to go and do a kibarua mahali so that the family can get some money. So sometimes even their consistency in going to school is a problem. And some of it sometimes also is and that's why school feeding programs encourage the students, because the parent says, even if the child, I don't need the child to go for kibarua because at least they'll get a meal when they go to school. So we've got to carry out various incentives to make students stay longer. So day schools, I've seen that is a challenge. The attendance is poor. So if you don't attend school throughout, you will not make it. We had the challenge of sanitary towels, where girls are missing school for 1 week every month. So how do we keep them in school? If somebody misses school once a month,
1 week a month,
they are not going to perform well. So we must look at the underlying causes of the poor performance that are unique to day schools and begin to address them one by one. And it is not for us to say the Ministry of Education will do it. Us as members of parliament can deal with that. We can raise those issues and try and resolve them. That's why the sanitary towels program came in, the school feeding program that have come in. That is important. We are seeing that children are not able to go to school. In some cases, I've told the principal, let the child come with a uniform that they were wearing in junior secondary. Let them wear that one for the next few days, but don't make them not attend school, because the uniform has become the challenge. The school fees is available, so the schools have to choose. Do they want uniform or do they want school fees?
Okay, all right. Mheshimiwa Muthende.
Yes.
But it's a racket. Yeah. It's a racket. The whole school uniform shops is a problem. It's a racket. The prices are fixed. It's become a whole industry. It's a cartel. So we must break it up. And if you look at the companies that are providing the school uniforms, they are less than 5. Yeah. And all the uniforms are imported. I can make the same uniform. Nowadays, I tailor my own children's uniform. I refuse to buy from the uniform shop, except, of course, the sweater, because now I can't get it. But it doesn't make sense. They are bad quality. The fabric is poor quality, and they are all imported. So it's not even helping local tailors. During our time, my uniform was stitched by the local tailor. But now you're told you must go and get it from this particular uniform shop. So we must break that cartel if we have to increase the attendance of children to school.
Okay. You raise very important points, especially when it comes to issues affecting the parents in this country, not just in public schools, but also in private institutions.
I can't buy school uniform for my children in a private school. It's still too expensive for me to do. So I have to go and get a fundi to stitch it, because I'm thinking, I buy this, they're broken by the next day, it's torn already.
Okay.
The T-shirt looks like it's 10 years old.
See-through.
The color runs when you wash it. And it's from that uniform shop. So I said, I'm not buying from that uniform shop. I'll make the T-shirts myself.
Yeah, true.
Now, Mheshimiwa Muthende, you wanted to say something as you close.
I just wanted to mention something. You know, Mheshimiwa Robert talked about the invaded payslip. But I want to support one of the points he said about performance, because I see a lot of times, even when TSC is doing promotions, they are doing based on age, you know, and other factors, but you don't put into consideration how many students has this principal taken to the national schools. So even as we talk of those pay slips, let the civil servants, the teachers, also give the government value for money. Actually, you said it yourself. So that we don't just give people salaries and we are not getting the requisite performance in schools or even in government offices, where you go and you find people are not in the office, and people end up blaming government for services that we have people being paid. Like now the transition, you know, from the teacher to the principal to the sub-county directors, we have a whole chain of 8 people on payslip being paid by the government, so that this challenge is not faced. You know, we don't face this challenge. So people need to be put to account. Whatever you are earning from government, what are we getting as citizens? So that we don't have any small problem that comes up, the opposition is so quick to pick it as a governance issue, because sometimes it has nothing to do with that. It's sometimes as people who don't want to do what they're supposed to do.
All right, let's transition to the matters affecting